Okay, hi folks, TJ here. It's 5 days before the election. 4 days, today's Friday, right? So, and we've had many a candidate on the show, and I've been hoping to work with Dan Belforti, and I had the fortune of running into him today at the Parkland Hospital here in Derry. Thanks for joining me, Dan. I really appreciate you taking the time. Have you, let's just real quick, why don't you let my audience know how you got involved in politics in the first place, or legislation?
How did I get involved originally? I was an activist and supporter of the Libertarian Party. I guess even before that, I went to a freedom rally in Boston. It was one of the things that always made me say, am I taking crazy pills here? Am I the only one that realizes why are we throwing people in jail for smoking pot again? Mm-hmm. I mean, I grew up in Milford, Massachusetts, where a lot of my classmates smoked. I didn't enjoy marijuana myself, but a lot of them did, and I certainly didn't think they belonged in jail or they had to run away from cops. So, I guess I'm a little bit of a freedom fighter, and so I went to this freedom rally, and one of the people speaking there was a Libertarian candidate, and she was for legalizing it, Carla Howell, I believe. And I'm like, I can support this party. This party, Republicans and Democrats were horrible on that issue. The only politician I knew about that was actually good on it was a Republican. His name was Bill Weld, and he was the governor in 1990. And he's like one of the first politicians that spoke out against the farcity that what is the war on drugs, or as I like to call the war on drug users. Yeah. Really. Yeah. You can't have a war against a drug. You're basically just having a war on people who, unfortunately, were either born with, a sensitivity toward being addicted or whatever. Maybe it's their choice, whatever, however you want to look at it, they still don't deserve to be treated like animals and thrown in cages, right, because you don't approve of what they're doing with their bodies.
The way I see it, it's a source of income for the
state,
for the local government, all of it.
Well, the law enforcement community is the only special interest group that still advocates for it. Yeah. Because it's a huge part of their budget. Oh yeah. I mean, they make tons of money in the war on drugs. So I almost don't blame them. You can't blame people for advocating in their own best interest. Yeah. What I do is I blame the politicians for selling out to the law enforcement community. Yeah. And again, most cops, if you ask them directly, they'll tell you that, yeah, we should legalize. Mm-hmm. But it's the unions, it's the public unions that are always against the people. Yeah. And the people just have no negotiating power against the public unions.
Right. You have a strong background in economics, because you have what I've read and what we just listened to. Be that as it may, how do you feel about state funding? The federal funds that are sent to the state. Are you at all aware of where most of the funds come from?
No, I haven't studied it, but I would say delegating to the states is a step in the correct direction, because the states will spend the money more efficiently, unless there's too many strings attached to it. Right. So right. It would all depend on the program.
Okay. I mean, my personal fight, and I don't want to get into my agenda. I want to focus on you. Fine. But the Social Security Act, Title IV, Parts D and E, they give, and it's in quotes, special incentives to family courts and agencies like DCYF, CPS, whatever the alphabet soup is of the day, to basically destroy families. If you read the bill, it's the courts get $1 for every dollar in child support or rearage they collect out of our Social Security funds, and it's the same with, I believe it's up to $6 for the agencies through Part E, and I've learned a lot going through this election process, and how it's supposed to happen and how it doesn't happen. It's supposed to be vetted through the Executive Council, which doesn't happen. Probably something to do with Chris Pappas, but we won't get into that. My fight, basically why I even started doing this show, is to either reform or abolish the family courts. Because it's really,
how about the entire court system?
Well, yeah, the entire judiciary is messed
up.
Oh,
it's just a mess.
Yeah, and the state of New Hampshire does have a judiciary committee in the House, I know, I was talking with Gary Hopper on our
They've done a poor job
ago. And, yeah, and he said the same thing. You
Yeah.
know, the courts are very messed up, the
Yeah.
whole system is messed up.
Oh, yeah.
And it needs to be looked at.
Yeah.
But, when you're elected, and you get to Washington, do you plan on addressing the funding going to the states, the money that comes out?
Well, again, I would suggest on every issue, we libertarians are always trying to move policy in the direction of what's best for the American people,
Yeah.
no matter what it is. So it really, we all may have different ideas of what the exact amounts would be, or but we're all moving in that direction
Right.
of getting the federal government out of the business of invading people's personal liberties.
Yeah, and that's the biggest one. The family is the foundation of our society. And by tearing it apart, you're tearing apart society, and you can see that on the news every day. So, but anyways, back to Dan's agenda.
Well, it's not in my agenda. I mean,
Well, in the speech you just gave, was there anything that you didn't hit on that you wanted to?
yeah, I did forget to speak on behalf of the national initiative. I just so happened I was in the car with my aging mother, as I mentioned yesterday, and I was flipping through my saved programs, and I came across an interview that I had with Granny D. Hancock and Mike Gravel, former U.S. Senator from Alaska and presidential candidate in 2008.
Okay.
And Mike and Granny D were both speaking highly of the national initiative, which would be a way for the people to get directly involved in lawmaking, or maybe repealing laws too, for that matter, even more importantly. And I think it would provide an excellent check and balance on our current system of representative government.
Okay.
Why are we doing, in this age of technology, why are we all even having these stupid elections to give this one person, actually two people in the whole state of New Hampshire, get to go to the U.S. Congress and decide on the issues? Why don't we all just vote on it?
Right.
Should we go to a war with should we invade Iraq? I think if we had that vote back in the day, we wouldn't have gone in at all.
I agree.
But because the Democrats and Republicans were on record of supporting the president because of all the fear-mongering that went on right after 9/11, these politicians, they're stuck in that, oh, well, I said I support it, so I might as well keep supporting it, even though there's no evidence of any weapons of mass destruction. There's no, we were able to go anywhere we wanted at any time in Iraq to inspect. I mean, we had them right under our thumb, and we could have kept that way. And Saddam Hussein was a stabilizing force in the region.
Yeah.
By taking him out, we created a lot more problems than we solved, and cost us billions of dollars and and thousands of lives,
Yeah.
needlessly.
Do you see that happening in North Korea?
I don't think we're foolish enough to invade North Korea. But again, unfortunately, the way it's set up right now is if you have an unstable executive in the Donald Trump, and for that matter, anybody, you just never know. Why are we giving so much power to these people to go to war? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a thing about Trump signing an executive order to bypass the 14th Amendment and allowing, or what is it? Not allowing citizens or the immigrants to come into the country.
Right, and I think as far as the birthright.
The birthright.
Right.
Children, right.
Right, if you were born in this country, automatically become citizens. And, there's definitely debate whether or not we should continue that policy. In fact, I would say most developed countries do not allow birthright citizenship. I'm personally on record as saying I think citizenship should be earned, and for that matter, paid off over a period of years. So if an immigrant wants to come to this country, their benefits, they can become a citizen, but their benefits are kind of maybe stepped up over time as they pay into the system. It's like becoming a member of a private country club. So, I don't even know what that number is, 20,000, 100,000 over a period of 20 years. I'm not sure what that number is, but because we can't just be giving out free benefits to everyone because it's going to bankrupt the country. It's not already bankrupt. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we got to consider our current situation, and it's going to make it worse if we just allow more and more people to come in collecting off the same government program, which is already going bankrupt. So I don't believe citizenship should be just granted to anyone. I think it should be paid for over a period of time. And I think we need to be selective about the immigrants that we have. We definitely need immigrants, but I think companies should be able to purchase citizenships for needed employees that they need for tech jobs, for example, so that they don't have to move their operations overseas.
Right.
And it'll be great if we could pay off the federal deficit, start to balance the federal deficit by actually collecting money.
Right.
And at the border, you want to visit this country, you got to pay. Just like you go to Disney World, you got to pay to get in there.
Right. Cool. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I wanted to, I'm so glad we got the time to sit down and talk, and
anytime.
I'm looking forward to working with you more in the future. One last question. Have you ever held office?
No. Well, I don't know if you consider being the treasurer of my country club at the Milton Country Club, and I was also president of my MBA class at UMass Amherst.
Okay.
But I don't consider that, well, I guess I was elected, but it's not government. I was never a government office holder.
But you do have, from what I've read, you do have extensive leadership skills and experience.
I guess I have. I was the treasurer of the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire, too, for several years, and business owner. So, I think as a congressman, I think I have the skills necessary to be a good congressman. I'm certainly willing to listen and debate the issue for as long as anyone wants to, and even more. And I don't get offended if people disagree. I'm trying to find common ground. Like I mentioned to you, like the positions I've staked out, they're already compromised to address everyone's needs. So I know some libertarians would say I'm being too pragmatic, or I'm compromising a little too much. Like, why should we even give out health care vouchers, or why should we give out education vouchers? Parents should be responsible for their children. People should be responsible for buying their own health insurance, buying their own car insurance. Why are we having the government pay for health insurance?
Right.
Why are we asking the government to pay for car insurance now too?
Right.
It's just we got to get the government out of these industries.
Again, it goes back to the Social Security, but bygones. Okay, so I want to wrap this up and let you get on your way. You got to go back to the Seacoast now?
Yep, heading back to Portsmouth.
Excellent. Thank you again so much.
Thanks, TJ.
And I look forward to working with you after the election. Hopefully we'll get you in studio.
Yeah, I'd like that.
And we can, because I'm going to be doing a lot of work, especially
post-election interview.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to working with the Libertarians and pushing the party to grow, hopefully for 2020.
Yeah, and beyond.
Absolutely.
And I think former Governor Bill Weld will be a presidential candidate in 2020.
He's a Libertarian now, right?
He is a Libertarian. He has seen
when
the light.
He was a governor, he was a Republican.
He was a Republican, working within the Republican Party, but got fed up with it and decided, just as Gary Johnson was. Gary Johnson, our former Libertarian candidate for president, was governor of New Mexico, of course, and finally joined us. And I think, the Libertarian Party is correct on the issues, but we do need electoral reform in order to empower third parties. We need instant runoff voting or approval voting, and that, which one is better? I don't know. I'd like approval voting slightly better, actually. But instant runoff voting also is a huge improvement over what we have now with the plurality, winner take all.
Right.
Or 50, you get that 51%. Actually, you don't get 51%. You can get 40%. As long as the other two candidates are splitting the vote, you can still win an election with 40%. With instant runoff, you have to basically earn everyone's vote.
Right.
So you rank the candidates. Number one, Libertarian, of course.
Right.
And then you take number two, whether it be Republican or Democrat, depending on the election and the candidate.
Yeah.
And that way, your first place vote, if it doesn't win, then you get to choose your second place, and that gets calculated into the runoff between the other two major candidates. Yeah. So that way people don't have to strategically vote for somebody that they really don't prefer.
Right.
And I've heard that from so many people already. I wish, Dan, I prefer your views over the other two candidates, but I don't want this guy in, or I don't want that guy to get in. So
Right.
So we shouldn't have people having to delegate their power away to the politicians, number one, And then number two, not even be able to vote who they want because of the plurality voting system, the winner-take-all voting system. So we need to have major change. And that's one huge reform that I support.
That's what I'll be working on big time after this election, working with local and state legislators to get bills passed to make a difference here in New Hampshire and hopefully set a trend around the country.
Right.
And, you know, if you make it to Washington, I hope you do, you know, when you come back to New Hampshire at some point, let me know, we'll get you on the show.
Well, I'll be around.
Excellent.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much, Dan.